think that what you're talking about there is kind of like rules or understandings. It's like a shared understanding of how do we want to speak to each other, how do we want to act towards each other. And I think, I mean, first of all, it's very important to take enough time and to really take it seriously, to make sure that this isn't just something that you're doing because it's like the task at hand, this is what I need to do to get my grades, but to really think about, okay, how is this really going to affect me as a person in the way that I deal with other people? Because and when you're talking about sort of inclusive communication and rules at hand, it's really important to think about what are the ways in which we can create an atmosphere in which people are, first of all, able to communicate in a way that they're not being discriminatory towards other people, they're not hurting other people's feelings, but also that we don't get into the idea that I'm not allowed to say anything anymore. And I come back to what I said before, I'll say it again, to create spaces, we can't do everything right from the very beginning. So that's why it's important to have sort of like, I'd say like cycles of reflection or something in it. So that basically you say, okay, let's try this out, but this isn't set in stone. So maybe we create, 5 different ways which we want to speak with each other. We want to, for example, think before we speak. Everybody should have, which means that we need to have enough time in our meetings so that we're not stressed. So these would be 2 things. We want to take enough time. We want to commit to the meetings that we're having, or we want to commit to the communicative platforms that we're participating in, so that we're not rushed. If we're not rushed, then we can take time to think before we speak. We want to have, truthful feedback, which also means that we need to have some sort of, maybe at the end of each meeting or the beginning and the end of each meeting, we have what we call in German a Blitzlicht. So basically a short time at the beginning, how are we feeling when we start the meeting? How do we feel when we end the meeting? So that people have the opportunity once again to get onto this reflective level and to be like, okay, I think that we were very productive today, but I had the feeling like, we were under stress, or Bryant laughed when I said something and that hurt my feelings or whatever. So I think you need to have those spaces. And so if we want to have a charter, it's really important that we say, okay, we're going to create this charter, but we're also going to have sort of ways to come back to it, not just have it as like a dead piece of paper, but to actually have it as a living document, and to come back to it and say, okay, is this actually working? Is this helping us to communicate in a way that is sort of empathetic and taking each other seriously in a learning process? It's dealing with diversity and dealing with inclusive communication is always a learning process, because unfortunately we live in a society that doesn't really promote it and doesn't take it seriously enough. And so we have to also be open to the fact that people might make mistakes, people might need to try things in numerous times. And so I think that sort of taking that, having those reflexive processes, and also trying to be sort of non-judgmental and letting people make mistakes, but then also correct them. I think that's part of it. That's not really, I wasn't very concrete about the way it is. I think it's a lot about the process. Of course, it's about the product, it's about what we have at the end of written down, but a lot of, I think, this inclusive communication is sort of relearning ways that we communicate with each other, and that's a process in which you really have to be open to try things out.
Yes, I like your answer, because I also believe sometimes it's less about the product and much more about the process.
Yes.
About the results. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for this interesting conversation.